So happy you could join us once again. We are joined as always by Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, which includes such places as Vermilion in Old Town, also Tallulah in Arlington. Greg, a James Beard Award nominee. What's on tap this week?
So this week we have a somewhat new brewery to the area. Lightning Brewery out of Southern California near San Diego has been around since 2006. And they just started sending bombers, 22-ounce bottles, out here a few months ago, actually. So very new. One of the beers that they came out with that they've sent out here that's one of the year rounds is called just Lightning. It's a Hefeweizen, Thunderweizen it's called, which is wonderful. It's Bavarian wheat beer, crisp, refreshing, banana clove bubblegum aromatic from the fermentation. Great beer. So I was really excited when this came out. This is called Sauerstrom Ale. Reference, of course, to the acidity you're going to find in this beer, which makes it great for this time of year. It is not a Hefeweizen from Bavaria in style, but actually a Weiss beer from Berlin in style. Berliner Weiss, as we call it. Great style of beer. Typically very low in alcohol. This one's 4.5%. They can go down to 2.7 to 3.5, 3.9% as well. It's got a little bit more body to it. And unlike the Bavarian wheat beer, this one is not quite as banana and spicy clove. It's got a little bit more of a lemony note in the nose from the fermentation, and it is partially fermented with something called lactobacillus, which is a bacteria that is very positive. It's what makes pickles taste pickly. It's what gives yogurt its tang. It's the first step in cheese making to help separate the curds in the whey. And in this case, it gives it a really great, refreshing, tart finish to the beer. So.
It's always fun to try a brewery I've never heard of. Great light, refreshing.
Got a lot of wheat grain quality in the nose.
That's nice, and that's
gentle.
Different.
Yeah.
You know, this style is not, I have to say, is not generally my favorite. I mean, I like it all, but
right.
This is it's light. Obviously, you've got it at the right temperature here.
Yeah, so it's you can taste it.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's delicate, and it makes it an amazing thing. I mean, the low alcohol is phenomenal for as far as like being able to drink it and be refreshed by it, but that little bit of tartness in the finish, which will develop in the bottle over time. This is an unfiltered beer, unpasteurized. If we continue to pour out the entire bottle, there's lots of yeast sediment that's settled down, just like in a Hefeweizen, and really well done. One cool thing about this brewery is that their tagline is "Better beer through science." And beer is not just a science; it's also art. So art and science together, it's a craft. But the guy who started Lightning is a former PhD in biochemistry. So he's bringing this kind of microbiological know-how to brewing, and nowadays it seems that breweries, you got to make sure that you have a great yeast person, a great lab person, in addition to the brewing person. So they've got that going here as well.
I'm wondering what your day is like. I think probably complete uneducated guess that your phone's ringing off the hook with new breweries wanting you to try their beer. But how do you typically learn about a new good brewery? So I do spend a good portion of my mornings every day kind of scouring blogs and resources online and things like Beer Pulse, which tell you like what's coming out, what's new, and what's interesting. But the cool thing about this industry is that, yes, I do a ton of my own research. My staff is really into beer. They do a ton of their own research, and they get back to me on a lot of stuff. And they're always kind of saying, hey, have you had this, have you had that, and all this stuff. But at the same time, the other side of the industry is trying to get me to know about them as well. So I do a lot of research on my own, but then distributors, sales reps are kind of sending things my way and saying, hey, check this out, this is what we have, and stuff. So it's really a great industry to be in as far as information. The internet has only furthered that, and right. There's a lot of things that go on with that. But I do taste a lot of beers as well. And we've also talked about how more and more breweries are being able to branch out, but
they do it sometimes too early at their peril. So you say they've been around since 2006 and they're new.
Yeah, and they're new.
So it's not like they opened up shop 6 months ago and they're saying,
we can do
here we are.
And that was a mistake that many brewers did make at first. They'd sell a good amount in one area and say, but we can make more beer. So they'd make more beer, and then they would sell another area, and then not realizing that the area they're already in, it might get real popular, and suddenly they don't have the beer to just satisfy that, so you pull back at that point. I think most people have learned now that you go step by step, you make sure you have fortified an area, that you can supply them all the beer they need, and then when you go into a new market, you make sure you forecast out properly so you know how much you can send. I mean, even in the case of Lightning, at this point, they're only sending 22-ounce bottles, cases.
Okay.
So one of the big issues you get into is cases are okay, because if you run out of cases, it's okay, because there's other beers that can fill that slot in the store. But if you're a draft account and you come in and you say, Lightning comes to you and says, please sell our beer consistently all the time, well, if they run out, that's the hard part. And then somebody else is going to get that line instead. So I think before, the big step is draft. And when you go with draft, you have to make sure you can maintain draft lines as well.
Okay. What would you pair this with?
Well, obviously, it's something delicate and light. It's not, you're not going to do this with anything with a lot of heft to it. Something early on in the meal. I love this just with salads of all kinds. I'm just thinking, like, it's so hot outside, going to barbecues, like pasta salads. This is lemon. It's a lemon beer. I mean, it has so many lemony qualities. Anything that could benefit from a little hit of lemon,
great with
it's going to be great. Caesar salad would be awesome with that. Exactly.
Now, last week, remind me of what we tried last week. It was the
Gueuze Tilken.
Now, and I meant to mention this last week, and I can't see what's on here, what it says, but American beers, craft beers, it seemed to me, say Great Lakes, for example, which I buy quite a bit of, which I have a keg of Wright Pills in the basement at home right now.
It's awesome.
It has a freshness date on it. It's a seasonal outside of Cleveland. It's something in August, so great. Go to the store, buy a six-pack of Beck's. It's probably going to say good until, like right now, good until June 2013. Last week, and I just remembered this, it said good until May 2nd, 2021.
Yeah, so...
How, and we've talked about this before, but still, maybe if people miss that, it kind of blows my mind for what reason, I don't know, but why is some beer here only, you got to drink it within 6 months, but that stuff you could, if you treat it right, it could be good for another 9 years.
Well, the funny thing is about that is that there are definitely certain beers, IPAs, pale ales, hoppy beers in general, pilsners, lagers, lighter, delicate beers, even this Berliner Weiss, should be consumed as fresh as possible. So their freshness date is going to be something that's not far off in the foreseeable future, which is great. And I wish it was more obvious on every label that was the case. I think part of the reason that some breweries don't do that is because they're afraid that everybody's going to start associating the freshness date of a Pilsner, which should be, 2 months maybe from the time it's bottled, really, until, they're going to confuse that with every beer that's ever made, which is just simply not the case. A beer that's darker, stronger, Belgian, a lot of strong Belgian ales, English barley wines, imperial stouts, they can age and last for a long time. And so they're hesitant to put a best by date on those beers because they don't want to unnecessarily limit them. On the other hand, I believe in Belgium, they've passed legislation somewhat recently that says all beers have to have a best by date. Okay. So in the case of a Gueuze, those beers will last for a long time. The high acidity, just like with, say, an acidic German Riesling or something, is going to actually keep the beer for a longer time. Low pH, bad bacteria is kept out, can't work as well. So that beer will develop for years. And who's to say it's just 9 years? It could be 15 or 20, but they have to kind of just pick a date. And I think it's a little bit of an ironic thing that they enjoy by being like, Best by May 2020 or whatever it is, that it's actually funny to them. And that it's so far away that it's saying, lay this beer down and you decide when you should drink it.
If you've got a question like that for Greg, you can ask him. The email address for Ask Greg is beeroftheweek at WTOP.com. Real quick, quick Blue Jacket update for people walking to and from Nationals games, wondering how the construction's going.
Yeah. So we're hard at work getting all our ducks in a row for Blue Jacket. Things are moving along as planned. Right now, we're in still kind of the planning phases, and we're brewing now, but brewing lots of collaborations and all over the place. So we've done and released beers from Cigar City and Funky Buddha, Blue Jacket, that snack attack beer, Black Berliner Techno Vice from Devil's Backbone, Washington OC, which is a Belgian quad with plums, brewed with the brewery out in Southern California, Burns Night, a sort of Scotch ale with smoked malt that was smoked by Pizza Port in Ocean Beach. We did one of those. And then other breweries. We brewed our own beer. It's called Sidewalk Saison, and we brewed that at Iron Hill, and many, many more. By the time we open March of next year, we will have done hopefully almost 20 different collaboration beers. So we'll start off with a full complement and hopefully be ready for the baseball season as well.
All right. I'm still not sure when you take a day off, but we appreciate you as always taking time. Greg Engert, we will see you next time. Everyone, do please drink responsibly. And speaking of next time, be sure to bring your thirst for another beer of the week.